All right, I thought I would give a sales pitch for Christianity. And this is coming from a very uh um it's a sort of primal religion aspect to Christianity that meshes with the higher elements as well. But this is the most primal religion there is in some sense. So there's a Powerwolf song called Your Blood, which is a very Christian song in a sense. What I've decided is God openly welcomes us to devour him into eternity, growing forever and ever. That's some peak primal shit. While we might constantly be chasing the infinite, relative to others, the more we do devour of it, we get closer to it. Never reaching it, it's always one step ahead, leading the way to forever more and more glory, or rather giving God the glory for our development. Because humility before God is power among men. No other religion has these characteristics. Only Christ. No sacrifice wasted in the end, protection for his followers, ultimate victory, and camaraderie with all who are not wicked, like pure evil. If you have nothing to lose worthwhile, why not gamble on getting infinity? As per Pascal's wager, for instance. His favored sons get tested beyond their limits to force them to rely on him, that is Christ. And then, when they do so, he blesses them with the heights of the four idols, the things you're not supposed to worship. But you get them in the end: wealth, power, pleasure, and honor. However, it's always with him as the guide, so that what were once domineering aspects that we were chasing after and under are mere tools to appreciate what is highest, which is God. That's why Christianity says you will be more than conquerors. So instead of submitting to the lowest, you submit to the highest, and you get all the things in between the lowest and the highest from you to God over and over again. Never reaching the heights of God because he is infinite, but always growing and developing into eternity more and more. And infinite doesn't mean all things and that's it. Infinite means infinite. It means beyond what exists into forever, into the distance forever and ever. More than what exists at the moment, and then more than exists the next moment, and then more than exists the next moment, and so on into forever. So it's perpetual growth and existence, and appreciation of God as the source of all good things. This is my very primal sales pitch for God. And the reason why the Eucharist exists, in a sense. So people can look down on the Eucharist as cannibalism of Jesus Christ. But what it's saying is that which is God is eternally devourable and inexhaustible. And it will forever give you what you need. And what you aim for is as high as you can go, or imagine, or react to reaching out to you. And the promise is, if you do it honestly, and Christianity is the most honest, Maybe there's some flaws, I don't know. It doesn't seem like there are too many, if any. But the true religion builds people up after tearing down their false construction, their wrong construction. It tears it down and then builds them to infinity the right way. And the promise is, even if we're imperfect, even after becoming Christian, those imperfections will not hold us back because we've made a critical juncture choice in reaction to God's reaching out to us. And what it's saying is we just simply recognize God is God and He is infinite, and we want His gifts to us. But this primal element is a way of saying this is how we approach it in a certain sense. With all the Christ-cuck elements also intact to some extent, maybe not quite in the same formulation identically, so we're not totally primal and we're not totally Christ-cuck, but we're the big promise is that if we hold off chasing the four idols, wealth, leisure, power, and honor, in the meantime, He will reward us later with those experiences, but under a new rubric of understanding, so that we don't fall prey to worshiping what is merely a good and not the highest good. But we will still be able to enjoy those things in some sense. So it's about elevating us above the idols, not keeping us bowed in submission and so on, except to God, who is infinite. So He's always above everything else, and He's the source of all good things. So we just know our place in relation to God, and everything will sort itself out eventually in our lives and beyond, in the afterlife, eventually. It's a deferred gratification for development and patience in God giving us what we desire and what is good for us. However, the primal element is still there. We do, in fact, in some way, a real sense, devour God, the infinite source of all things. We rely on the infinite source of all things to provide for us as systems, almost, relying on the resources of a greater system. So it's an acknowledgement, at least in this life, and probably the next life and afterlife, that we are consumers. And this isn't a neoliberal promise of infinite growth in the economy. This is a total relationship with the essence of infinity itself. And it's about being patient and letting things happen as they should, not trying to force things to happen as we want them to. And the more we do that, the better off we are. It's about letting ourselves be given by God infinity. It's not about trying to grab infinity all at once when we're on step one out of a trillion or something, so to speak. Although infinity is infinity. So yeah. Just thought I'd explain that.